To put it in another way, what happens in the vessel lumen? Your valve is damaged, the blood flow is slow, there is intraluminal thrombus formation, and there is trauma to the vessel wall, and the flow irregularities can happen, and vortex formation can happen, and the thrombus which is formed migrates to the proximal pulmonary segment. So, this is the normal venous circulation. You have the superficial vein and these are the deep vein, and you have a one-way valve, okay. So, that blood goes from the distal to the proximal part and comes from the superficial to the deep part. The vein valve prevents the blood backflow, so that it goes from the distal to proximal and from the superficial to the deep vein. And another important part is the calf muscle. Whenever it contracts, it pushes the blood from the distal part to the proximal part towards the heart. So, this is the normal venous circulation. And another thing is the perforator vein, which forms a connection between the superficial and the deep vein. Now, coming to deep vein thrombosis. How does deep vein thrombosis happen? Here, deep vein is there and superficial vein is there. The first thing which happens is your valve becoming incompetent. Instead of blood flowing from proximal to distal part, the blood comes back and it goes from the deep to the superficial vein because your valve is incompetent. Second is, as the blood comes back, there is a thrombus formation. Usually, thrombus formation occurs whenever there is some bifurcation. And finally, I said this muscle, you can see the muscle is lax. So, the muscle doesn't contract strong enough to pump the blood from the distal part to the proximal part. So, more blood stays in it. These are the cause for venous thrombosis. So, normally you have the blood from the distal part going to the proximal part and there is a one-way valve which prevents the blood coming back. But in DVT, these valves are incompetent and blood does not go from proximal. Instead, it comes back and stays there, and the muscle pumping is not efficient and it gets stagnated here and later forms a thrombus. Then the thrombus gets dislodged and form a pulmonary embolism.